today's webinar. First off, thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar. Today's topic is exida. We're going to speak about how we're a different certification scheme. Here's a little information about myself. I currently manage the OEM product certifications. I assist the end user business, manage the CFSC program, and I am the Deputy Quality Manager. I enjoy process improvement, manufacturing, and constantly learning more and more in safety and high availability automation systems. Working with exida, it has been very refreshing. It's very nice that when your job becomes enjoyable, when you work with someone like Dr. Goebel, who teaches and mentors you in functional safety. He constantly shares with everyone why exida is striving to become the best certification company worldwide. Here's a fun presentation on our locations. We're a worldwide company. We do get a lot of questions as to where our offices are, where our regional offices are. You'll see here on the right side of your screen, we opened a new regional office in Japan that we're very excited about. Here's some different areas of business that we conduct in. We have consulting, engineering tools, product certification, training, reference materials, professional certifications. And today we're going to be focusing on the scheme, which is mainly in the product certification area. Electrical, electronic, and programmable electronic products and components, which are all applied in the safety-related applications, require a high degree of safety, reliability, and quality. Failure within these devices can put both people and the environment in dangerous situations. Now, more systems, products, components, and personnel are getting certified every single day. So what is certification? Well, in first-party certification, an individual or organization providing the service offers assurance that it meets certain claims. Now, third-party certification involves an independent assessment declaring that specified requirements pertaining to a product or process system have been met. exida believes in third-party certification because the assessment is done against a set of requirements based primarily on international standards. Functional safety certification involves a detailed analysis of both the engineering process and design margins, resulting in random failure rates in all failure modes. Cybersecurity certification, now this involves a detailed assessment of the engineering process. It involves cyber defense mechanisms and network robustness. Now that you know what a certification is, who performs this certification for companies? Certification programs have been established by private companies and governmental bodies around the world. All organizations who perform certifications should be accredited for their field of work. Now, surprisingly, there are established certification programs that are not credited. Certification bodies are audited on a yearly basis by the respective accreditation body. In 2015, all certification bodies that are accredited to IEC 17025 will now need to comply to a newer standard, IEC 17065. exida completed this new audit this previous February. So this could be a question that you want to ask some of your certified bodies to see if they are going to meet the new standard. A question that comes up in conversation, which exida is, are you guys internationally accepted? And if so, how are you guys internationally accepted? We get this question a lot. It's a great question. And the short answer is yes, we are internationally accepted. Now here's a little more information. And I provided as much as I could on that slide so that you could share this information with anyone else that would ask that question. So a more detailed answer is that exida is fully accredited per ANSI, which is the American National Standards Institute, who is the United States IEC liaison as a certification body for cybersecurity and functional safety. ANSI is a member of the International Accreditation Forum, the IAF. Most countries in the world are signatories of the IAF Multilateral Recognition Arrangement, the MLA, which assures global certification acceptance. And I think that's one reason why I put everything there in front of you, because there's a lot of acronyms. But like I said, in short answer, yes, we're internationally recognized, And more of the presentation will touch on that as well. Now, besides showing our exida certificate to our clients proving our accreditation, a certification body will show the accreditation body logo on the certificate for all work done under the accredited procedures. The accreditation body logo is located here on the exida certificate in the bottom left-hand corner of the front page. Now here is an example of a house certificate. When product certifications are done without accreditation, even by a company that has accreditation, this is called a house certificate. Notice on this, there is no AB logo. Now, agencies that have been around for a very long time have an advantage, whether or not that agency is accredited by an AB. Here's an example that we received from an end user, a document. This is their most current copy. However, it hasn't been updated for over 10 years. This document created confusion on which agencies they were allowed to use. Now, we have been told from our clients that a certain customer does not accept any certificate, but only from one agency. In reality, it could be simply because that customer hasn't updated their own documentation. Now let's move away from the certificate onto the certification scheme. Okay, a scheme is established which lists required standards as well as any additional requirements beyond those stated in the standards. The scheme is normally created by the committee or by the certification body. Now, an advisory board must be established to provide input on the CB certification scheme. Now, exida values our advisory board. Why? Because we gain all the knowledge from an outside approach. This strengthens our scheme and it helps constantly improve our overall program. Because sometimes when you're always on the inside, you never see what other people see, and that's why this advisory board is so important. And of course, seeing the need for supplying input on exida certification scheme, an advisory board was established very early on. Like we said previously, this board recommends and reviews enhancements to the scheme. They identify problems and concerns, they establish the policy, and they resolve complaints. The advisory board has played such an integral part in our certification. So I like to say, well, who are these amazing people? Now here in front of you, you can see these are a few of the companies where our advisory board members reside. We have Invista, Air Products, CH2M Hill, GE, ConocoPhillips, DuPont, Dow, BP, Syngenta, DSM, Petro SA, Tiboden, and Chevron. And we have many more, but this was just a few to fill up the page here. So what does the exida scheme consist of? Now, besides the IEC 61508 family of standards, exida established additional requirements based on the advisory board recommendations. Now, here's a list of them. First is the FMEDA, which is the Failure Mode Effect Diagnostic Analysis. This is accurate failure mode data based on over 150 billion unit operating hours of field failure data. Next is the published failure rates, not just the PFDavg. Next is the analysis, publication of false trip data. We'll touch more on that later. Maintainability, design complexity, cybersecurity audit, practical proof test is required, and also surveillance audits with expiration dates. Now, growing in the certification world, it has been such an exciting ride for exida. Exida is on the fast track, and we believe it is from the message we sent when helping our clients. We help our clients understand why we are in the certification business. For instance, we hold free webinars. We publish material as fast as we can write it. And we do our best helping our clients not only achieve product certification, but also to gain knowledge, understanding the process. We truly believe in making the world a safer place, a more reliable place to work and even live. And our co-founder, Dr. William Goebel, he drives this initiative into our workplace, not every week, but every day. This type of mentality is how our scheme developed and how it's been constantly improved and worked on by our advisory board. So why is the exida scheme creating such great results? This is what we're going to do. We're going to dive in and see where all the differences lie. And here in front of you are some of the areas that we're going to touch on. For example, we do have a tougher scheme than most conventional certification bodies. We do a complete assessment, which we call the safety case. We have the accredited certification body. Others have a house certificate. We have relevant assessment of technical expertise. We have realistic failure rate predictions, which cover all failure modes. I'll touch on that in more information later on. We require published false trip failure rates. We require proof test procedures with respect to prediction. We have cybersecurity analysis and surveillance audits to ensure continued safety. And one quick thing, because I do see the questions flowing in, I would like to note that with this type of topic, I'm going to take all questions, formulate the answers for you, and send them out to everybody. So at the very end, I'm going to give you some time to write more questions down. And do know that within the next business day, I will have all of the questions answered and sent to you via email, or I will additionally create a blog so that you can have it publicly as well, just so you know all the questions will be answered there. Now, the additional requirements added to the exida scheme go beyond IEC 61508. These requirements were added to meet owner-operator needs by the exida advisory board. Manufacturers and equipment suppliers must provide more detail and more analysis must be done. In doing so, the result of this work is better information for those end users choosing equipment and designing bespoke safety instrumented systems. Now, exida updates the scheme requirements approximately once per year, keeping far more current than typical schemes and standards. And of course, as technology changes and improves, so does our company. exida has always used a safety case approach for assessment to ensure a complete evaluation of all requirements by the scheme. The safety case covers over 600 plus requirements for IEC 61508. exida requires that the certificate and assessment report be publicly available and published on the exida website. And here I provide a link as to where that is. I will speak about the SAEL portion of our website later in the presentation as well. Now, we touched on certificates prior, but notice again that exida has an accredited certified body logo at the bottom of their certificate, whereas the other conventional certification bodies, they simply do not. I remember when I first started working at exida, this is probably one of the things that shocked me most. Now, technical experience is well, let me start here. Here in front of you is a great quote that was recently given from an individual that was a VP of engineering on the West Coast. He said, "We previously used, and we decided to take out the CV's name, they seem to be asking the wrong questions during the audit. The focus seemed very bureaucracy. exida went deep into the fundamental safety concept issues." I just enjoyed that quote, so I wanted to put it in there because exida has an experienced team of mechanical, electronic, and software development engineers. These are people who have been living in the product development world most of their careers. They understand the key issues, and we also listed our experience on the exida website to help show our level of expertise. exida has more key personnel actively working on the IEC functional safety, automation, cybersecurity technical committees than any other certification body. exida's training program, exida Academy, has been developed to provide comprehensive functional process safety, ICS cybersecurity, and alarm management training for end user industry professionals, as well as the original equipment manufacturers. The courses are even available on a variety of platforms. They could range from single-day public courses to week-long custom sites. We can do on-site training workshops. The trainings are offered at any level, beginner, practitioner, or expert, with the goal to share basically our evolving knowledge and skills with our students, with the intention that they will use this information for the cost-effective design for them to build, operate, and maintain optimally safe and secure automation systems as basically applicable to their functional responsibility. Exida Academy was also built from the core foundation of Exida's visions for excellence and dependable automation. These courses on cybersecurity, functional safety, and alarm management happen basically on average once a week globally. Exida personnel have also published more technical papers and research results, over 600, than any other certification body in the world. Now let's discuss different ways that people predict failure rates. We're going to talk about 3 different ways here. The first one is manufacturer warranty data. The biggest problem with manufacturing field data is the manufacturers cannot be certain that the percentage of actual failures are returned. Manufacturers cannot definitely know how many field operating hours exist. They know shipping dates, but they don't know how long it took to install an instrument. They don't know if it's been sitting on the dock shelf or not. There's so many number of variables here, and I've seen so many very optimistic calculations done by people in manufacturing companies. And me speaking for myself, I used to work for Lockheed Martin and Harris Corporation as a manufacturing engineer, and I can almost feel like I relate to what they're saying. But and it's so not uncommon to do these optimistic calculations as a manufacturer. And in spite of that fact, we at Exida we're skeptical about using this as an absolute failure rate. Now, we do find that the data can be very valuable. There's a lot of really useful information in this data, and we should definitely include it in the input to any failure analysis system. The second way, predict failure rates by B10D failure data, which is called cycle testing. Now, it comes from the machine safety, not process safety. The B10 method uses cycle testing. The concept is that a cycle test is done on a set of products. It's typically most useful for mechanical and electromechanical products. You cycle them on and off as fast as you can. Given a set of products, typically a number greater than 20, you run the test until 10%, or if the test was at 20, until 2 of them fail. The number of cycles until failure is called the B10 point. This means the number of cycles, 10%, failed. So you can convert the number of cycles to a time period by knowing the cycles per hour in any particular application. You calculate a failure rate dividing the time period by 10% of the failure count, or 2 failures divided by the time period. The dangerous failure rate is made safe by disassembling a 50-50 split between safe and dangerous. The problem with this method is that it assumes that all constant failure rates during the useful life is due to premature wear-outs, typically due to manufacturing defects of product weaknesses. In the end, cycle testing was designed to predict the useful life of a mechanical product, so it's primarily used to predict useful life or wear-out. Now, it is interesting that someone thought that the method could be used to predict a constant failure rate, but the primary assumption is all other failure modes are completely insignificant compared to the premature wear-out. That's interesting, but not all true for mechanical products. For example, here we go, in static motion. In fact, some failure modes become very significant when a product sits motionless for 100 hours. That's less than a week. If you're sitting there for 4 days, stiction begins to form. That can cause dangerous failure rates, and B10 data would not apply. So generally speaking, while it can be used in high-speed machine safety applications, it's totally inappropriate for process industries. The third way, Exida uses the FMEDA technique. It has developed over the last 20 years of field failure research. It was derived because enough failure statistics at the product level had not been approved or had not happened yet. Neither manufacturers nor end users nor engineering companies do really a good job of gathering up the failure statistics. Therefore, given that we don't have enough failure statistics at the product level, where do we have failure statistics? Well, at the component level. We break down a design into its components and perform a detailed study on each component. This design analysis method predicts failure rates for all failure modes, automatic diagnostic coverage, useful life, and proof test coverage for each design variation and application. And yes, it's a very tedious process, but we do find we get the best results by doing it this way. So, how do we justify that the FMEDA techniques is the best tool? Exida created a FMEDA component database, which is based on over 150 billion hours of field failure data from the process industries. Comparisons with site field failure data have shown that the Exida FMEDA predictive technique is accurate or slightly pessimistic. And I always say in safety, being pessimistic is not a bad thing. And you see here in the chart in front of you where most people fall. You can see the Dow field data, Exida, and where manufacturing warranty data fall as well. Here's another difference with most schemes compared to the conventional certification bodies. Exida publishes false trip failure rates. Conventional bodies, they do not. And here's another quote, I love quotes, from a control engineer in the U.S. from the chemical industry. He stated, "False trip rate is an essential design parameter for our assist designs. How can I do this without the data? Only Exida certifications provide that." And that is a very valid point that he is making. And we don't know how we can do it without the information. Now, most engineers who design and verify safety instrumented functions, or SIFs, understand how hard it is to design a manual proof test with high effectiveness, also known as your proof test coverage. Now, these folks who understand that a proof test is not likely to detect all failures never use simplified equations that assume that assume the perfect proof testing like those from IEC 61508 Part 6. So, Exida works with manufacturers to create practical proof test procedures. And I'm sure all of you have seen these 100% proof testings. Now, given that proof testing is not 100%, the FMEDA analysis is used to predict the effectiveness of each different proposed proof test. And the results are published in those FMEDA reports and typically included in Excellentia Safety's lifecycle tool. If applicable, Exida includes a cybersecurity threat analysis with functional safety certifications. With the growing need and growing awareness of cybersecurity, this is one area, as you can see, that we had to adapt to. Exida is one of the few CBs accredited to certified industrial automation products to cybersecurity standards. Exida also has an additional automation cybersecurity scheme for personnel, for products, and system certifications. The Exida scheme requires periodic surveillance audits, normally every 3 years. The expiration date on each Exida certificate shows when the next audit is due. At the time, engineering changes are examined and developed, and development process updates are reviewed to be certain that the product will still meet the requirements of the reference standards. Makes sense. And at each surveillance, Exida asks questions to find out. You know, something like, does the product still meet functional safety and cybersecurity requirements? Pretty simple. And now, once again, as you see in front of you, there's another quote from an engineering manager at a U.S. West Coast manufacturer. And he said, well, we switched from this certain conventional German CB to Exida because of the Exida surveillance policy. With our former CB, every single change, he said, every change had to be pre-approved before release to the market. Some change approvals have taken several months. The last thing we need is to hold up an important change waiting in the work vacation queue of the CB. Exida surveillance policy allows changes that follow our approved change process to be released to production immediately. Our customers get better product, and Exida audits changes every surveillance audit. And I just think that was a very powerful quote that he had said for us. Now here we use the SIEL as our primary equipment selection source. Most comprehensive safety security list on the internet. These are just other quotes that we've received. The truth is, this list is growing and growing. It's becoming one of the most favorite tools by our customer or our clients' customers, which are the end users. And because of the growing interest in this list, almost pretty recently, we have done it in the past, but exida is now reaching out to more and more companies to add their products to this list. And the biggest thing is, even if that product is not exida certified. Why? Because we would rather a company find what they need to create the best system possible than to limit them to, which we're not limiting much, but if there's something out there that they need, we want to make sure they have everything possible. So this is kind of a fun slides. I got 3 slides on this, and it's basically, well, how is our scheme working? Of all these different changes that we've added, besides all the comments that we received in the feedback, we wanted to have an outside source, a third party, go out there and ask questions and see where everyone falls. And so they went out globally and they asked over 100 or 200 different people or company, and they basically said, here, all these categories below, what is the most important? And as you see, if you go over to number 5 being the most important, the biggest things here are the technical expertise, or what customers are looking for, and they're looking for the accreditation by a national body. Okay? Well, he asked another question. From your perspective, please rank the top 5 providers based on technical expertise, which was a leading on the survey before. And as you see here, exida is the clear leader of technical expertise, which makes a lot of sense. We do publish all the material, and we try to help wherever we can with all these free webinars and all of our published books as well. So the next thing is, well, even though exida is the leading technical expertise, here's the question. I would accept an IEC 61508 certification from the following organizations. And once again, from this third-party source, exida became the clear leader that they would accept an extra certificate over anyone else. And that right there, it was very reassuring to see. We didn't know how the results were going to come out. We're very pleased. So we do know our scheme is working, and we are constantly improving it through our advisory board and by just talking through our customers. That summarizes our conclusion, or our webinar here today. I want to thank you guys. I'm going to leave this on for just another second here. If you wouldn't mind, I got a bunch of questions already. If you think of anything else, all of the questions here in this webinar, I will answer them to your email address that you provided. If you do not provide one, I'll also create a blog so that I can put the questions on there as well, so that you will have those answers. And if you'd like, contact me specifically at tstewart@exida.com. Everybody, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to doing another one with everybody. Take care for now. Bye-bye.